Hello and welcome back to the second part of this video. I hope that you have watched the first part of the video. In this part, I am going to discuss the summary, multiple choice, question and answer of the poem for the better understanding of the poem. I hope that you will enjoy this video and it will help you in your examination in understanding the poem better. So, cheer me. Now I am going to give the summary of the poem. A snake visited the poet's water trough on a hot afternoon to quench his thirst. The poet, who had also gone to the trough to fill water in a pitcher, waited for the snake since he had come at the trough prior to the poet. The snake rested his throat upon the stone bottom and sipped the water into his slack long body. After drinking water, he raised his head just like cattle do and flashed his forked tongue, thought for a moment, and then bent down to drink some more water. Education and social conventions make the poet think that the golden brown poisonous snake must be killed, and that as a brave man he must undertake the task of killing the snake. However, the poet instinctively likes the snake, treats him like a guest, and feels honored that it had come to drink at his water trough. The poet questions himself and wonders whether his not daring to kill the snake proved that he was a coward, and whether his desire to talk to the snake reflected his perversity. The voices of education inside the poet tell him that it was the fear for the snake that made him refrain from killing him. However, the poet feels that though he was quite afraid of the snake, he did actually feel honored that a snake had come to seek his hospitality from the deep recesses of the earth. After drinking water to satisfaction, the snake raised his head dreamily and flickered his forked tongue and licked his lips. The snake looked around like a god and then slowly proceeded to curve round and move away from the water trough. As the snake put his head into the hole to retreat into the earth, the poet was filled with a protest against the idea of the snake withdrawing into his hole. The poet put down his pitcher, picked up a log and hurled it at the snake. The snake twisted violently and with great alacrity vanished into the hole in the wall. The poet instantly felt sorry for his unrefined and contemptible act and cursed the voices of education and civilization that had shaped his thought processes and urged him to kill the snake. The poet felt much like the ancient mariner who had killed the albatross for no reason. He wishes that the snake would come back. He thinks of the snake as a king in exile who has to be crowned again. He also regrets having missed his opportunity of knowing and understanding one of the lords of life. He is guilt-ridden and feels that he has to atone for the meanness of his action of throwing a log at the snake. Based on your reading of the poem, answer the following questions by ticking correct options. Yes, students, I have already chosen the correct answer for you, so I hope that it will help you. Here we go with the option. He lifted his head from his drinking as cattle do. The poet wants to convey that the snake is as harmless as cattle. Number 2, Sicilian July, Etna smoking and burning bubbles of the earth are images that convey that it was really hot day when the snake came. Number 3, a sort of horror, a sort of protest overcame me. The poet is filled with protest because he doesn't want the snake to recede into darkness. Number 4, in the line, And as he slowly drew up, snake easing his shoulders and entered farther. The phrase snake easing his shoulder means sleeping in with majestic grace. Sleeping in with majestic grace. Number 5. He seemed to me like a king in exile. The poet refers to the snake as such to emphasize that the snake is a majestic creature forced to go into exile by man. Number 6. I thought, how paltry, how vulgar, what a mean act. The poet is referring to the act of throwing a log of wood at the snake. So these were the multiple choice questions. Now we come to the question and answer of the poem. I have also given the answer to all the questions that is given in the book. I hope that it will help you. A. Why does the poet decide to stand and wait till the snake has finished drinking? What does this tell you about the poet? Notice that he uses someone instead of something for the snake. The poet decides to stand and wait till the snake has finished drinking because he wants to treat the snake at par with human being. Actually, he wants to equate the snake with human being, just like human being, right? B. In stanza 2 and 3, the poet gives a vivid description of the snake by using suggestive expressions. What picture of the snake do you form on the basis of this description? The poet describes the snake as someone silent, sleek, soft, slack and slender, yellow-brown second comer. Now, next question C. How does the poet describe the day and the atmosphere when he saw the snake? He describes the day to be very hot of Sicilian July with Mount Etna smoking. Next D. What does the poet want to convey by saying that the snake emerges from the burning bubbles of the earth? Actually, he wants to convey that the inside of the earth was extremely hot as if it was burning. Next question, E. Do you think that the snake was conscious of the poet's presence? How do you know? Yes, of course, I think that the snake was conscious of the poet's presence because he lifted his head dreamily, then flickered his tongue and looked around just like a god and slowly turned his head. The snake was not in a hurry to just drink the water and go away, run away. He just looked at the poet very, very dreamily. So this shows that the snake was very much aware of the poet's presence. F. How do we know that the snake's thirst was satiated? Pick out the expressions that convey this. This expression, he drank enough, it tells us that his satisfaction is he was satisfied, his thirst was satiated. G. The poet has a dual attitude towards the snake. Why does he experience conflicting emotion on seeing the snake? The poet was infatuated by the snake. That means he was very much attracted by the snake. It was his natural human instinct. On the other hand, voice of human education warned him that the snake was poisonous and he must be killed. That is why he was suffering from conflicting emotion on seeing the snake, and he decided to hit the snake or kill the snake. H. The poet is filled with horror and protest when the snake prepares to retreat and bury itself in the horrid black, dreadful hole. In the light of this statement, bring out the irony of the act of throwing a log at the snake. It is very ironical that the poet was infatuated by the snake, should throw a log at the snake. Poet liked the snake very much. On the other hand, he wanted to hit the snake. This is very ironical. I. The poet seems to be full of admiration and respect for the snake. He almost regards him like a majestic god. Pick out at least 4 expressions from the poem that reflect these emotions. Now the answer, the expressions are: honored so still more that he should seek my hospitality. Number 2, I stared with fascination. Number 3, for he seemed to me like a king. And number 4, like a king in exile, uncrowned in the underworld, now due to be crowned again. J. What is the difference between the snake's movement at the beginning of the poem and later when the poet strikes it with a log of wood? You may use relevant vocabulary from the poem to highlight the difference. Answer. In the beginning of the poem, the snake trailed his yellow-brown body, rested his throat upon the stone bottom, lifted his head, mused a moment, stopped and drank. In short, we can say he was not in a hurry at all. However, later in the poem, when the log was thrown at the snake, suddenly it convulsed. That means there was a violent movement in the snake's body. There was a shaking. In an undignified haste, the snake suddenly convulsed in an undignified haste, reached like lightning and disappeared. In short, this movement was hurried and sudden. K. The poet experiences feeling of self-derision. Self-derision means self-scorn. That means hating yourself. Guilt, regret after eating the snake. Pick out expressions that suggest this. Why does he feel like this? Indeed, the poet reprimanded himself vehemently. The expressions are: I regretted it. I thought how paltry, how vulgar, what a mean act. I despised myself and the voices of my accursed human education. I thought of the albatross. The poet feels this because he was suffering from compunction soon after the heinous act of throwing the log of wood at the snake. That's why he thought of the ancient mariner who had killed the albatross. L. You have already read Coleridge's poem, The Ancient Mariner, in which an albatross is killed by the mariner. Why does the poet make an allusion? Allusion means indirect reference to the albatross. Soon after the heinous act of throwing the log of wood at the snake, intending to kill or hit it, the poet felt the sting of compunction. The poet felt the sting of compunction compelling him to allude to the albatross, the poor bird which had been killed by the mariner. Albatross, the poor bird which had been killed by the ancient mariner. M. I have something to explain. The repenting soul of the poet wants to atone for a crime he did. That's why he says that he has to expiate. That means he is ready to accept the punishment for the crime he has done in order to show that he is very sorry. He is sorry. Thank you, my dear friends. Thank you, my dear students, and thank you everybody who have been watching this video. I hope that you have liked this video, and if you really like this video, could you please subscribe and put in your comments so that I can, in my next video, improve the video, or else I would be doing the same kinds of videos that you would like me to upload. So thank you. Have a very nice day.